So, let us take the next chapter where we are focusing on the primary activities. What is this? We are actually talking about agriculture and related things, right? Initially, the world was actually looking at hunting and gathering, correct? It was not associated with even nomadic herding as well. Hunting and gathering is still practiced in our countries at some points, especially when you look at, can you see the woman actually gathering oranges? And when we actually look at some of the most important areas like Amazon forest, evergreen forest, Gabon, Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa, can you see Philippines, wherever you have evergreen forest, usually we observe some sort of gathering taking place, correct? This is there till now. And in high latitudes, especially Canada and Russia, we usually observe some sort of gathering taking place even today. But now we have made it little bit commercial in this. That is, they don't try to gather everything. Sometimes these gatherings are collected and they are being sold to the open markets as well. Earlier it was for their own food, now it is for the open markets as well. For example, rubber, gum, all this is usually being gathered. But the biggest problem is this cannot compete effectively. So, the next important thing which comes up is pastoralism. When we talk about pastoralism, you have to be careful about the nomadic herding, correct? When we talk about nomadic herding, different animals are being herded in different parts of the world. Even in India, you have certain places where this nomadic herding is still taking place. When I talk about nomadic herding, we are not talking about the commercial herding where you will have large farmlands being present and they usually grow the crops which is required for these sheeps or so, and then these sheeps go and have these grains, that is commercial. But when we talk about the normal nomadic herding, if there are 5 tribal communities and if there is a grassland present, they usually demarcate that this belongs to us and that border is for you. So this try to divide the communities as well for their own purposes. So nomadic herding is very important in some parts of the world. So when we actually look at different parts of the world, you have to understand where exactly nomadic herding takes place. Can you see Sahara or Sudan type of climate, Arabia, Iran, Thar, steppes and China, Tibetan region, Africa, right? Wherever you have some sort of grasslands being present, especially tropical grasslands being present, there we usually observe this type of nomadic herding usually taking place. Then you have something called as commercial livestock rearing. So when I talk about the commercial livestock rearing, here you have to remember one important thing, that they usually try to have a grassland and the land will be divided among different communities and they will be allowed to herd. Usually pampas in South America, veld in Africa, downs in Australia, right? Steppes, prairies and other region. Usually we observe wherever grasslands are there and even if little rainfall is there, in those areas commercial livestock rearing is compulsory. So this is what we say with respect to commercial livestock rearing. You should be aware about the grasslands which are present in different parts of the world. And later we also have to consider about the agriculture. First is gathering, second is livestock rearing, third is agriculture. So as the generations developed over a period of time, the technology also advanced and people started using different sorts. So when we talk about the agriculture, you should be aware that you have 2 types. One is subsistence agriculture, where they are planning to use the local resources and minerals that are usually present. So if I have first primitive subsistence agriculture. Usually when we talk about the primitive subsistence agriculture, people usually focus on the shifting cultivation as much as possible. You have already heard of the slash and burn cultivation as well. So can you see primitive areas? Amazon basin, evergreen forest in Caribbean islands, again the evergreen forests, maritime climate, Indo-China climate where rainfall is there throughout. Usually you call it with different names, that is Juming, Milpa, Ladang is usually seen. Then we say intensive subsistence agriculture, still technology is not much used but more number of people are usually present. Usually for paddy cultivation, in different parts, especially South Asia, Southeast Asia and East Asia, you usually look at this particular intensive subsistence agriculture. Apart from paddy, also you have certain things where intensive subsistence agriculture is seen, where wheat, soya bean, barley is usually grown. For example, China, Japan, North Korea, in all these regions, usually we observe intensive subsistence agriculture as well. Then you get something called as the plantation agriculture. What is the meaning of plantation agriculture? We go for tea, coffee, rubber, cocoa, all this comes into picture. So this type is present only on the basis of certain climatic conditions and also with respect to certain also with respect to certain soil conditions available. So usually we observe tea, coffee, sugarcane being grown in the tropical regions throughout the world. And when we talk about tea gardens where rainfall is there throughout the year and the slopes are a bit slanty, and coffee is also available where the shade is actually available. So all this is very, very important for us to understand. Then we talk about the extensive commercial grain cultivation, especially in areas where huge lands are usually available. Usually grasslands are also considered here. Here in India, when we talk about the commercial graining, we have at max 100 to 200 and most of the farmers have half acre to 1 acre land. But when it comes to extensive commercial grain, usually they have thousands of acres where they usually use aircrafts and others to usually sow the field and also to usually give the irrigation, drip irrigation, pesticides, all this usually takes place through aircrafts or helicopters. So this usually tries to show us that increased mechanization is usually possible whenever the land availability is more. As the countries has less land availability, usually they go for cooperative farming, which we will be taking up later. Then what we have to see is which are the areas where you have extensive commercial. One is North America, US and Canada, where they are commercially developed, pampas. Africa, South Africa, especially not everywhere, steppes region, especially in the European part, Australia, especially the Downs region. Mixed farming, different crops are usually grown to ensure that you will actually get fertilizers, nutrients and other things required for the soil. At the same time, you will have some other commercial crop which will actually benefit them as well. So here crop rotation or intercropping is usually done to ensure that the soil is usually fertile. And then you have dairy farming. Most of the farming is associated with animals. Here we talk about rearing of huge number of animals. Australia, New Zealand has more than 20 sheep per population, which or per person, which clearly shows that there are more sheep than the human beings itself. It's a clear indication of dairy farming in this region. Then we need to talk about the Mediterranean type of climate. 30 to 45 degree north and south of equator. On the western side of the continents, we usually observe a typical type of climate called as Mediterranean agriculture. So if I take a continent, this is west and this is east. Usually in summers, winds blow like this. That is, they are moving from land to sea. So no rainfall in summers. In winters and other season, rain goes like this. That is, they are moving from sea to land. So they give heavy rainfall. Winter rainfall is usually seen, and this is called as viticulture or grape cultivation, which is very good whenever you get rainfall in winter. This is what we need to see. Then you have something called as market gardening or horticulture, where vegetables, fruits and other things are grown, and the distance is usually like you will usually grow this if you have a capital city like Bangalore. So surrounding places will usually try to go for market gardening or horticulture, so that the market is usually available. This type is also called as truck farming, because usually it will be grown in those regions which are just overnight distance if you actually can carry the goods on truck. So this is called as truck farming, right? It's very important, sorry. So it's very important for us to look at some of these important things. Then you have something called as cooperative farming. The meaning of this is, in socialist countries, as they were aware that the number of land or number of acres of land available for the farmers are very less. It's very small when we talk about the cooperative farming. Right? Here what we are trying to say is, when the land holdings of the farmers are less, or whenever state controls all the land, what they say is, they ask the farmers to go and work in the fields for limited number of time. So everyone will come, they will work and they will go. It will be like state controlling the land, and whatever comes, some money will be given to these farmers. So this is called as cooperative farming. In India also this was tried, where different farmers were allowed to come together and they were asked to actually go for plowing with the help of tractors and all. They can get the tractor, or government will subsidize the tractor to this group, so they can actually go use these tractors and produce whatever they want to grow. This is called as cooperative farming, but it fails whenever you have the owners to be the farmers. Then one farmer will not be willing to grow, one farmer's time will be different from the other farmer's time, all these problems come. But if you are actually making it the control of the state, then the biggest problem is farmers will never work. So they will think that it's not my property, even whether I work or not, I would get the money. So lack of incentivization also leads to problem in cooperative farming, right? Nothing much to see, that's why I'm just going quickly. So what we saw is collective farming, and they have cooperative farming. And then you have something called as mining, right? So whenever we talk about primary activities, even mining comes under this. And mining is usually of two types. One is underground mining. So here if I consider this is the most important ore, then what I'll do, I'll just remove these layers. I call it strip mining or open cast mining, and take the ore. The other one is I actually drill through, because these layers are very strong and no minerals are usually present, and if I actually remove this, it may take a lot of time. So I drill and people are sent here, they go here and they start extracting. And if they find any mineral anywhere, they go and start extracting. So this is called as shaft mining. Open cast mining and shaft mining. This is also very important for us, right guys? So we have seen all these issues which are crucial for our preparation. That is, we have seen primary. First we started with gatherers, nomadism, then subsistence, shifting cultivation, then we talked about intensive cultivation, commercial cultivation, mixed farming, dairy farming, Mediterranean or viticulture, plantation, and we also saw collective or cooperative farming, and at last we saw mining. In mining we saw open cast mining and also shaft mining. Very easy. Usually UPSC has given you where are mineral reserves and activities present in different parts of the world. You have to read 8th standard NCERT book and 12th standard NCERT book, right? This is very important for you.